Also, I think you're going to hold for me. You're going to hold Hebrews 11 and 26. Hebrews 11 and 13 to 26. Someone hold that, all right? And then you're going to hold a lot in 2nd Maccabees. You're going to start at 1st Maccabees. I'll tell you where to begin, all right? You're going to start at 1st Maccabees 1 and 11. And I'll skip you around from there, all right? Are there any questions in the room? Is someone manning the questions online? Anyone know how to do that? You got to just go through Facebook, I think, and YouTube and give me the questions of the people that post their questions online, okay? So to begin, First Maccabees 1. Let's start at 1st Maccabees 1 and 11, all right? No questions in the room, correct? Good to go here? Solid. Let's go to 1st Maccabees 1 and 11.
All right, Kim, got it. The book of 1st Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us.
Let me tell you, Akim and Abwakian, right? Most people, maybe by now, a lot of you have heard of the story of Hanukkah and how we rescued back our temple, right? Through sheer faith and obedience to the Most High God, we rescued our temple from an army that far exceeded our strength. We were so weak and frail compared to them, but yet we were victorious in battle against them. And because we were victorious, we were able to take back the most holy place that we had, our temple, right? What we're reading about right now is how they got the temple, how the whole thing started. And the important thing about the Hachaanakah, the important thing about this night is to see the parallel between the life you're living right now in America and the life that they lived in Jerusalem. And you want to read this story because if at the end, if they people so small and so frail and so weak could be victorious over an army that was were like gods unto them, then what could we do with our lives here? What could we do if we had faith? And so this is where the whole thing started. I'm gonna move this for a second, all right? Someone put this somewhere else. All right. This is how the whole thing started. Read it one more time, please.
In those days went there out of Israel wicked men.
This is how everything always gets started. Everything gets started because of this, right? If you wondered who is the author of your misery here in America, and your misery in South and Central America and in Haiti, it always starts with terrible leadership. That's always the way it begins, and it began like that 6,000 years ago. That's how the whole captivity under the Greeks started. We were people who had finally had a gap in our history of being free. We had some time where no one was ruling over us, no one was oppressing us, and in that freedom, we were jealous of oppressors. We were jealous of the people round about us. Read it one more time.
In those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying,
Okay, I'll tell the brother I'll take a drink whenever he gets a shot, all right, if he has it, all right.
Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen.
What verse are you in?
11, sir.
Keep going.
That are round about us.
Let us go do what?
Make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us.
Let us go make a covenant with I appreciate it, warrior. With the heathen that are round about us. Keep going.
For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
Read that again.
For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
Akim, this is what you got to learn. Like, this is what puts you in slavery. Not their army, not their force, not their strength, but your desire to end suffering. That feeling of pain you get when you're not smoking weed, that feeling, everyone knows it, right? I'm not telling you anything you don't know, right?
Right.
That feeling of, I want to get high. What will you do to make that subside? That feeling of needing a cigarette. What will you do to make it go away? That feeling of missing an ex-girlfriend who's married to another man, but you miss her. What will you do to be with her? What will you do to end pain? Well, our brothers and sisters and your forefathers, to end pain, they were willing to be subjugated under repression.
That's right.
And that should not be strange to you, because you subjugate yourself under repression every day when you smoke, when you get high. You know that you're an addict and you cannot stop, and you know it's destroying you, and you choose to be destroyed by it. Why? Because it hurts too bad to be free from it. It's too painful. It's too much. You have to think about the people you have that can't give up pork, even though they have diabetes, heart disease, one good foot that's hanging on by a limb, no eyesight, and yet they still refuse to give up pork, refuse to give up shrimp. Why? Because of the pain of not having it, the suffering. And you cannot serve God without embracing the suffering that comes with serving God. Because in that suffering, you get free. In that suffering now, you can rule someone else as opposed to being ruled by someone else.
Right.
I pray you understand. Read that last part one more time.
Kind. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
Keep going.
So this device pleased them well. This was going to put them back in captivity with these heathens, because since they've been free, they don't have the money they used to have. You know, if things aren't going their way. And I've always tried to dispel this myth with anyone that comes into One West of ever thinking that you're here in this school, and now that you're in the UPK, now you'll never have any bad days. Right.
Now everything will happen good for you, because of course that's what that whorehouse taught you for years. And if you come and serve God, you're going to hit the lottery. Your family is going to come together. Everything is going to be wonderful. You're going to get the kingdom of heaven with a harp and wings, and of course you'll get money will just fall out of the sky for you. And because of that, so many of you come into the truth, and you are not prepared to suffer.
Right.
And the minute you are required to suffer, you fold. You break, because you weren't here to suffer in the first place. Well, you could have never retaken the temple. You could have never took that temple back from those heathens. You couldn't have done it, because to do that, that was done with great pain. That was done with great loss, not victory. With great loss, they took that temple back. With great suffering. Judas, what's the brother's name? Not Judas, the father. Begins with a T. Someone look it up. It's Judas's father. I forget his name. Well, he died in the middle of that war. And all of those brothers died. And Judas was killed. Judah Maccabee was killed. They all got killed. They all died. And then their sons stood up in their stead. And they kept fighting the same fight that killed their fathers. What are you struggling with? Cigarettes or something? Oh, you can't give up birthdays. That's your problem, right? Birthdays? Mother's Day. You struggle with Mother's Day. You could have never taken the temple back, brother. And you won't take it back this time. If anyone has a question, you let me know, all right? Keep going. You got to give me the questions online, please. Bombarded with them when I leave here. Go ahead.
Verse 13. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen.
Mm-hmm. Keep going.
Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen.
What verse are you in?
Going on to 15, sir.
I'll explain. You in First Maccabees, right?
What kind, sir?
I'm going to skip you around, but I'll explain that to you as well.
Fassi was his father's name.
I'm sorry?
Fassi.
Fassi.
T-H-A-S-S-I.
I think that's something. Yeah, something like that sounds better. I'm sorry, you said you were in what verse again? I apologize.
Starting on 15.
Okay. It was 1 and 11, right?
Kind.
I'm going to skip you around. Read that last part one more time.
Verse 14. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen.
And that's how it began. They went to the king and they got license from the king to start to embrace the culture of the heathens. And their culture was having a place of exercise, or what later became known to be the Greco-Roman sports, or the Greek sports, or the Olympics. And through that bridge of those games, we began to completely immerse ourselves into their culture and to lose our culture. Now, does that sound familiar? Right? Like, look at that parallel. Like, when they decided that they did not want to suffer anymore as free men. It hurts to be free. If you had to get out here in these mountains and find some food and get some heat, it would be hell. It would damn sure be hell on me. I'd be in a rough way coming from the city. If I'll be out there with 2 sticks crying. I would start rubbing them for a few seconds, then I would just cry. Once nothing happened, it would be hard to get your own fire, your own food, your own shelter. Well, imagine what we were like as a nation of people, fighting and struggling to survive on our own. But the reward is so great if you can do it. But if you end the suffering, man, how will you ever know? Well, they ended the suffering. And so the first thing they did was decide to be Olympiads. They decided to immerse themselves into sports. That's it. They got naked and they started wrestling. They got naked. Look for the discus. The discus is right around here for someone that has a concordance. That's an Olympic sport today. It's right around in this chapter where they begin to start throwing the discus, which was thrown naked. And they began to carry on the Greek customs of playing sports in the nude. Let me skip you around. You have 1 and 11. Where you at right now?
1 and 15, sir.
Go to 1 and 34.
Verse 34. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein.
So let me tell you. So then, as we begin to get deeper into their culture, there was another segment of our society that rebelled against us joining that culture. Right? That's the spirit of the UPK, the spirit of Christ. It has always been around. So as they get deeper into being Greeks, there are certain brothers and sisters that refuse. Certain brothers and sisters that say, nah, I'm not getting naked and wrestling. I don't want my son getting naked and wrestling. I don't want my daughter to be a whore. And so those people began to be troublemakers, going with the flow of society. And the society is to end this suffering of freedom and become a slave in comfort. Keep going.
Verse 35. They stored it also with armor and victuals.
I'm sorry. Read 34 again. That's the part I wanted to show you. Go ahead. Read 34.
Verse 34. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein.
We're going to read this again as we go on. What did they begin to do once certain brothers and sisters began to rebel? They put a sinful nation in what? In Judea. So now we're in Judea and we're rebelling because a lot of us don't want to get naked and wrestle. A lot of us don't want to be Greeks. So to conflict in the community, they take someone else, a sinful people, and put them in our community. Does that sound familiar? That's the Chinese, the Vietnamese, the Koreans, the Arabs. If you blacks and Hispanics have always wondered why we don't own anything in our neighborhoods. And here's the reason. Our oppressor puts sinful kingdoms in our neighborhood to oppress our desire for freedom. Because if not for those other nations, we would be angry about oppression and own a restaurant and own a business and own a supply chain for goods and services. And with those resources, we would rebel. And so now we're angry with no resources. We're angry and we're mad about being oppressed, but we don't have any way to feed ourselves because the Arabs control the gasoline. The Arabs control fried chicken. Can you believe that? Come on, brother in the back. You know you don't like that. This brother around my age, that's the terrible thing to even think of, that the Arabs control fried chicken. Damn. I mean, what's next? Watermelon is next. that's next. The Arabs control fried chicken. The East Indians wrap your brain around this. The Indians control is hair. That's like saying you control skin or teeth or nail. They control nails too. Damn. They also control nails, fingernails, hair. Like if you need hair, you have to go to them for hair and nails. So you're angry, but you literally don't have fingernails without them. And you don't have hair without them. So your anger can go but so far. And they did, I'll show you another precept right along here where they did it more. This is gentrification. This is why it exists. They take a neighborhood where the people are unruly and they go and put a sinful people in among them. Read it one more time.
And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein.
Fortified themselves means what? They got strong, right? They put police stations and barracks and all kinds of ways to make it so you could never get them out of your neighborhood. They're completely entrenched in your neighborhood. They did this in Judea, brother, 6,000 years ago. And we're celebrating tonight the revolution that overthrew them.
That's right.
Keep going.
Verse 35. They stored it also with armor and victuals. And when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there.
That's it. So when they came into Jerusalem and just took everything from us, took everything that was precious and valuable from us, and then stored it up in some police station, in some barracks that they had somewhere. Skip down to 37.
Verse 37. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary.
Read that again.
Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary.
Remember, the sanctuary was our temple. It was the most holy place on the planet Earth. It was the temple that Solomon built. Solomon built this temple, the son of King David. And it was precious to us above all things. This place and all of the goods and the things in it. It was where we did our sacrifices and where the priests went and worked. And it was precious. And on every side of that temple, they shed innocent blood. On every side. Keep going.
And defiled it.
Keep going. What verse?
38, sir.
You done with 38?
I'm on 38 now.
Read.
Okay. Insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them.
What happened? The inhabitants of Jerusalem fled. They left their neighborhood. Now they're gone because the police are killing them. The Arabs own the restaurants and the Chinese and the Japanese. So what do? They move. They leave Harlem. They leave Manhattan. They leave Chicago. They're gone. And now these evil men are able to have your home. This is you. This is your life. And this is 6,000 years ago. And here's the goose. We won. We won this battle. Right. As terrible as this sounds, and I'm going to read some extremely dark passages in our history in Judea under the Greeks. Terrible times we went through. Terrible. But in the end, we won. Now, what can we do here? What will we do here? Okay, right. Keep going. What verse you in?
38, sir.
Read 38, then read 40, 41, and 42. Skip over 39.
Okay. Whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers, and became strange to those that were born in her.
You get that? The city became an habitation of strangers. You walk into your city and all you see, you go into Harlem, brother, it is nothing but oppressors in Harlem. No, I mean 125th Street. Oppressors everywhere. It's strange. And I remember back in the 90s, they used to have a tour bus that would come through Lenox Avenue, and mites would just be on the tour bus looking. driving all through the projects. And we would sit there and look at them and go, look at it's like you're in a zoo. Like they're on a big, like a double-decker bus, and they're showing these oppressors the projects. And now the oppressors live there. Now it's there. General Mahayaman. Taking pictures, right. They on the bus taking pictures. And we standing there in front of the building looking at them, and they're taking pictures, and now they own the place. Keep going.
And her own children left her.
And what happened?
And her own children left her.
Her own children left Judea, left Jerusalem. That's gentrification, man. 6,000 years ago. Keep going.
Verse 40. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased.
You understand that? This is a people out. We're reading about the Israelites. You realize that, right? We're reading about the people of Samson, the people of David, Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel, heroes. These are the daughters of Sarah we're reading about. A woman with such great faith that she went and had sex with her husband at 90 years old, believing that he would bring forth seed. And it happened. That's who we're reading about. And as glorious as we were in the past, we were the same, destroyed now. We were equally destroyed. That's blacks and Hispanics. I've never met a black or Hispanic that didn't realize he was a king living in hell. They all do. They all realize they're important, they matter, they're beautiful, they're valuable, and they all know that they're just here in this hell suffering, but they should be kings. They should be princesses. All of us know that. Why? Because at one time we were. We were absolutely amazing. The tribe of Gad, my God. Our oppressor isn't naming all of his aircraft carriers and all of his military vehicles after Gadites for nothing. He's doing it because he was impressed by the Gadites' ability to go to war.
Right.
In a losing battle, the Gadites made such an impression that they just began to be synonymous with being the most skilled warriors ever. And now look at them. Now you go to the reservation and you look at them there, right? Read that last part again.
Kind. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased.
Keep going.
And her excellency was turned into mourning.
Her excellency was turned into mourning. That's an extremely sad verse. And it's important to realize it and face it because you're living that right now. Like that's your life right now. Your life right now is a horror movie. And your father's was, and your mother, and your story is just sad. And so many blacks and Hispanics, man, they just have the blues. You walking around depressed all day, depressed. And you don't really call it depression. You don't really, have you're not articulate enough to really be able to verbalize what's wrong with you, but you're sad and you're angry all the time. And you feel that no one loves you and no one ever loves you and no one was ever there for you. No one ever looked out for you. No one has ever been there for you. You're depressed, man. You're in misery because you are a prince living in captivity. And mind, you should be living a better life. Like it shouldn't be like this. This feels wrong. It feels like you're in the wrong place. But your weakness won't allow you to stretch out and to find your true home. Keep going.
Moreover, King.
What verse is this?
41, sir.
Is that the last one I said?
Okay, sir.
I think you can drop that. Bear with me. 41. Read 41 to 42.
Kind of okay. Verse 41.
All the way to 43.
Kind of okay. Verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus.
Like this was a Greek bastard. Like he was a famous historical bastard. What's that Hebrew word for bastard? Mazara. I forget. Look it up. Bastard. All right. He was a bastard. This Mumzar or Mazaria. He was a bastard. This cat here. He was evil and a murderer. And we're going to read about some of the murders he committed, the historical murders he committed for people simply wanting to live their life with a good conscience toward their God. That's all they wanted. and he murdered them, and you are going to know how familiar it is to your life in a minute. Keep going.
Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people.
They all should be what?
One people.
King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom and said, we should be what?
One people.
We should be what?
That all should be one people.
That we should be one nation under God, indivisible, with freedom and justice for all. The United States of America, the melting pot, right? A melting pot. We're not separate in this pot. This pot is hot and boiling, so we all get in it and we all melt together and we're all just in the same soup. This is what Antiochus wanted. He wanted the United States. He wanted everyone to be one 6,000 years ago. Here's the problem with Israel. Israelites, because of our love for the Lord our God, we cannot join with a heathen race. And because of that, they murder us. Israelites have always been the problem with unification on the planet Earth. And now niggers and spicks are the problem in America. We're the problem here. Without us, this place would be flowing and happy and nice, and there would be no issue. But when they throw us in cages and when they murder us in the street, it makes America look like it's not the melting pot that they always say it should be. That it's not this beautiful place where everyone comes together as one. Because we cannot come together with the other nations. And I'll give you one word that explains the whole thing. Integrity. With integrity, you can't join your enemy.
That's right.
With integrity, man. Now, if you're a sinful people like the Arabs and the Chinese and the Vietnamese, hell, man, they'll join and eat anything. Eat a roach and join a roach, marry a roach, eat a cat, marry a cat. What in the hell difference does it make to them what they do? They don't care. They care about survival. That's it. Anyone that can eat what those Chinese people eat care about surviving. They look at that bat and go, man, I'm hungry. You get my point? Like, we look at it and go, God damn, that's a bat. He looks at that bat and go, man, I am hungry, man. I have got to eat. Bat or no bat, I'm eating this thing because it's, it can go in my mouth. He doesn't care about integrity. He cares about filling his hungry stomach with bat and cat and coronavirus. But if you have integrity, then you'll starve. You'll starve. You'll welcome starvation for the sake of having a good conscience. And because of that, we could never join them. And we became the problem in Judea. We became the problem under King Antiochus's entire realm because he has everyone coming together except this one people that refuses to eat what everyone else eats, to live as everyone else lives, to worship as everyone else worships, and we become the problem. We become the problem with unity, and that is the legacy of the Israelite school of UPK. Commander General Hachaanakah keeps that up today. Give him a hand. And that's why we never apologize, never join anyone, never compromise, because the essence of not compromising is how we kept a good conscience in terrible times. Keep going.
42. And every leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king.
No problem with anybody else. Listen, we're all going to be one, and everybody's going to leave his laws. The heathens said, fine, no problem. I'll do it. You give me this Dunkin' Donuts, give me this Dunkin' Donuts franchise, and I'll be whatever you want me to be. Give me these gas stations and these nail salons and these hair places, and give me something else Chinese on. Everything. They are fine with whatever our oppressor wants. But there's one people, boy, they just refuse. They can't stand the fact that rich football players, they're wondering why they would kneel, because they can't even fathom why someone who is rich wouldn't just play football. Like, why would you care? Because in their head, it's like crazy. And that's another verse in here where they thought we were insane, that we would care. They look at a brother playing football and see him kneeling and go, what in the hell is wrong with him? He's rich. He's happy. We're not killing him. And they can't understand it. And that has always been our way. Always. And because of that, we're a problem with everyone on this planet.
That's right.
Keep going.
Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to this religion.
Oh, they did it. They consented to their religion. They gave in. Right? The heathens did it. They were fine with it. And many Israelites did it. Keep going. What verse?
43, sir.
You're going all the way to 43, and then you're going to skip and go to 46 after that. Go ahead.
And sacrifice unto idols.
What did they do?
Sacrifice unto idols.
They sacrificed unto idols. You're going to see that in a few weeks, right? With Christmas. With Christmas. Israelites did that. They gave in. They got sick of the suffering of being free, and they decided to become one nation under God. They decided to unify, and they began to sacrifice unto idols, which is what that Christmas tree garbage is. That gift is not for the kid. The gift is for the tree. You understand me?
That's right.
Stop lying to yourself and telling yourself that gift is for your child. That's what they give you, so to clean your mind of the guilt you should have for doing something that is absolutely pagan. The gift is for the tree. It's for the tree. It's not, you're hurting the child. The child is being corrupted every year with a Christmas gift, but the tree is being exalted. The tree is beautified with the gifts. It's more beautiful every year. The lights and the tree and the ornaments. The tree is beautified with the gift. The child is correct. The child will only learn one thing from Christmas. Compromise who you are to get what you want. The child will only learn to be a lustful bastard. And that same child who demands a Christmas gift, who says, I want a PS5, and you didn't get me a PS5. I thought you were going to get a PS5. That same child is going to kill someone when he's 18.
That's right.
He's going to kill someone for a PS5.
Right.
Because he has to have what he wants. Because you have taught him to compromise integrity for lust. And he's going to be 13 soon. And then 16. Ooh, and then around then, you'll have a monster on your hands that you created. But the tree will be beautiful every year. Keep going.
And profane the Sabbath.
You get that, and profane the Sabbath. That's so-called Saturday. And profane the Sabbath. Profane the Sabbath how? By being lustful, money-hungry bastards every Sabbath. By never allowing a brother to have a day off or a poor sister to have a day off. But by working them to death every so-called Saturday. Keep going.
You said skip 44, sir?
Cut and go to what?
46.
46. Go ahead.
Verse 46. And pollute the sanctuary and holy people.
Well, 1 second. Yeah, hold on. Go ahead, read that again.
And pollute the sanctuary and holy people.
You know what that is. To pollute the sanctuary is once again talking about our temple. Keep going.
Set up altars.
They did what?
Set up altars.
Go ahead, keep going.
And groves.
Uh-huh.
And chapels of idols.
And chapels of idols. Chapels of idols. Who knows what that is? A chapel of an idol. They have those in the Catholic Church. And they literally call them chapels. And they literally have an idol in it. St. Francis and St. Mark and St. blah, blah, blah. For you to go in there and make a cross and kiss his feet and pray to him. And it's called a chapel. And they did this 6,000 years ago. Keep going.
And sacrifice swine's flesh. And sacrifice swine's flesh.
6,000 years ago. This is what the king wanted. He wanted you to eat pork. Eating pork has always been integral in getting a people to compromise from the law of God. It's important. It's something that is vital for you to do. Like if you truly want to be one, you're going to have to give up your dietary law. Your dietary law and your refusal to eat swine divides you from every person on the planet Earth who will eat anything. But here you go, you won't eat swine. Without giving you the answer, why does it matter that you won't eat swine? Why is it such a sticking point, so much so that they would kill you for not eating pork? Who knows why? It's a very simple thing. It's very easy. It happens every day. Give it a shot. I'll give you a second. Please, Captain.
Is it assimilation, sir? Because they want you to assimilate?
Okay, there's a lot of things you could do to assimilate. Okay, to assimilate, you could do 1,000 different things, right?
They want, as you alluded to earlier, they want everybody to be one.
Okay, you bring me home now. But why does it matter that you eat pork? We're going to read that that's, they murdered 7 brothers, their mother, because they refused to eat pork. They murdered this old man who was honorable and dignified because he refused to eat pork. You'll read about that all through the story of the Maccabees, all through the revolution. Why? Now give me the spirit of the law, please.
Because of the melting pots custom.
You on it. The melting pot is on it. Captain LeBon is on it. Right here.
To show that we basically to get us to show that we a slave, like that we still like under them. And we don't have to like.
Oh, let me get the young brother in the back. Go ahead, Al.
So like we break,
Break what?
like pride, and like when you like sin
Uh-huh.
and like you repent, and then it's like you breaking like I don't know.
Well, what if you sin and repent? What would make you do it again? You sin and you know it's wrong, but then a lot of people do it again. And then they know it's wrong and they do it again. And they know it's wrong, they do it again. What makes them do that?
Either someone tells them, oh, it's all right.
You on to it, but it's a little deeper than that. Come on.
Being compromised?
It's a little deeper than that.
If I may, sir, so that you would defy your God.
There are a lot of things that make you defile your God, a whole ton of things. But this thing, if you do this thing, you'll be one with everyone because you will be hooked. That's the point. Because that pork goes in your mouth, on your taste buds, into your stomach. And in the beginning, you don't want to do it because it's disgusting. But then you go, I got to do it because they'll kill me. I got to do it every year, every Christmas, every December 25th, every Easter. What starts to happen, Captain? You start to like it. You start to like it. It's akin to a pimp who needs to get a whore addicted to drugs. You understand? Right? You can imagine that at least, right? If you wanted to manipulate a woman and get a woman to sell her body, now she might be a good girl that doesn't want to sell her body. And what will you do? Smoke this. I don't want to smoke this. I don't want to smoke this, bitch. Smoke this. I don't want him to beat me, so I'll do it. Then I'll do it again because I don't want him to beat me. Then I want to do it. You understand? And that's why pork is so important for them to get you to eat it. Because they believe if you continue to eat it first in the beginning by being forced, you will want to do it later. They're right. Right? They're clearly right. Because now we as blacks and believe that the only way the family can come together is over pork.
Right.
Like really the family can't love each other without pork. Like if you say, well, I'm gonna come love you, mom, just with no chitlins or no, y'all family eat that up here and out here in West Coast, don't eat that down there, do you? Thank the Lord. Give yourselves a hand. I don't know what the hell that is. You're doing something down here wrong. You might not eating pork, but what are you doing? You're doing God, you're doing something else. That's for damn sure. You done fell in love with some kind of sin that at first you're forced to do, and then you develop an addiction for it.
I was gonna say out here in Vegas, the part that you brought up, selling your body, that's what they do.
Give him a hand. I forgot about that. That's it. Willingly. And that's the key. This is what every brother should know who corrupts a woman and goes and buys a prostitute. She wants to do it now, but she didn't always. She didn't want to at 10. You understand, right? At 10, she was forced. At 10, she was scared. And then she was forced to do it. Forced to do it again. Forced to do it again. And at 18, she is a hustler. At 18, she's hardcore. She's a hardcore hustler. And now she wants to do it. And that's eating pork. It's an addiction. It builds up over time. In the beginning, you have to force them to do it. But if you can force them to do it, then now we can all unify. Because now all of us are hooked on sin. It's addiction. It is absolutely powerful. And once you're an addict, you have lost your soul. You don't own yourself anymore because you have to have cigarettes. You have to have pork. You have to have shrimp. And so many Christians, I believe it's wrong to eat pork. So many of them. They absolutely know that it's against the law of God and it doesn't matter because they're hooked now. This was the reason that we were forced 6,000 years ago. Does everyone understand? I hope, pray so. All right. Where you at now?
End of 47, sir.
I got to get to a ton more. We read all through that. Bear with me. Now I'm going to get to the brother. Stand by. Any questions? Am I missing questions in the room or online? If someone
No
has
questions
them,
online, sir.
say again.
No questions online yet, sir.
I have a question. Sir.
Go ahead. Before you say it, before I forget,
Come.
we're going to go to 2 Maccabees 6 and 18, and we're going to go down to 31. All right. Now, there's so many of these. I'm just picking one this year. What I want to do is I want to make you understand how terrible it was. There's another one right here, brother, where it talks about how they were getting whores in the temple. Someone look for it in the first or second Maccabees. Everyone has a concordance, right? Open that thing up. You're looking for where they had women in the temple, where they used women. It's some phrase that means sex. And it's going to be in 1st and 2nd Maccabees. It's somewhere in some of my notes right here, right? I just don't have time to get it for you. You can find it for me. I'd appreciate it, all right? Read the scripture. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother, in the back. LeBron, you had a question?
I just wanted to,
Go ahead.
came in a little late. Had you explain why we like the candle?
Come the water. Let's someone find that for me in the story of Hachaanakah. And you're going to also give it to me when Solomon did it first, all right? I'll explain that as soon as I get done this. I'll break down why we light all the candles for Hanukkah, all right? Okay, read.
You want 6 and 18, sir?
6 and 18, come.
Okay. The book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 6, verse 18. Eleazar, one of the principal.
Eleazar, what is that in Hebrew? Eleazar. That's Eleazar. I think it means God brought him back to life or something like that. You brothers can look it up. But then he is properly pronounced Eleazar. Keep going.
Eleazar, one of the principal scribes, an aged man, and of a well-favored countenance.
So this was an aged man. This was an old man, right? This is now when they're on a march to unify the kingdom, to make us all come together. And the way we can all come together is all of us must celebrate the same holiday, eat the same meal. So many of you were one with America for Thanksgiving. You were absolutely one. Imagine all of those houses all eating the same thing. And let's face this also once and for all. You would never eat turkey if not for Thanksgiving. Turkey wishes it was chicken. That's it. Every time I eat turkey, I go, what the hell, mate? This is not chicken. Who would even eat this when you could eat chicken? You know, chicken is right there too. Turkey wishes it was chicken, but because of this goddamn stupid Thanksgiving, everybody has to eat this giant, dry, not chicken. Moving on. All right. My point is this. You are in unison eating something that you wouldn't eat. You wouldn't eat that if you wouldn't just sit down and say, this is what I want to eat, not chicken. This is what I want to have today. You're doing it for unity. So you can be one with everyone else. Well, that's the reason you eat that ham and the filth and the whatever they eat Easter, the Easter ham. And that filthy Christmas dinner was disgusting of all the goddamn meals. All of them. You're doing it to fit in, it to unify. Well, at this time they were on a march, making sure everyone celebrated the same feast. And this is why your family hates the fact that you don't celebrate Christmas. They cannot stand that you don't come over that house and eat that filth with them, because this is what the king wanted 6,000 years ago. And to this day, your grandmama takes up his cause. And she's hating you because you won't come over and eat pork. You won't come over and eat it. You must eat it. You have to eat it, brother, right here.
Sir. Eleazar, meaning says God has helped.
Give him a hand, the water warrior. Please keep going.
God was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine's flesh.
So now he was constrained, meaning they held this old man down, who was a scribe, meaning he was from a royal family, not royal in the sense of the kings, but he was from an upstanding and righteous family who worked to keep the records that were passed down from Moses. And they grabbed him and held him and was forcing him to eat pork, forcing pig down his mouth. Keep going.
But he, choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination, spit it forth.
That's one West, Doc. That's one West.
That's right.
As they go in there shoving the pig in his mouth, he would rather die in glory than to stain his honor.
That's right.
And he spits it out of his mouth. As they're shoving it in his mouth, he spits it out because he'd rather die.
Right.
He'd rather die. And let this answer the old question, which I haven't been asked for years because I don't talk to people. But if you were on a desert island, would you not eat a pig if you were on a desert island? Let this answer your question. If I was on a desert island, I would die rather than eat pig.
That's right.
Everybody understands that. I would just die. I'm already on a deserted island. Why not just die? I go jump in the water, damn thing. It's over. I'm on an island by my damn self. You want to stay there forever, I guess. You and your hogs. You and this island full of hogs. Somehow out here, there's these islands full of ribs. There's these islands out there full of ham and ribs everywhere. Keep going.
And came of his own to the torment.
And he came of his own accord to the torment. So they're like, listen, man, eat this or the king is going to kill you. They were trying to save his life. They're going to say it farther down. They were trying to help him. Come on, man, the king is going to kill you. Eat it. Tuah! I'd rather die in glory than stain my honor. And then he walked to go be tormented and killed. Tormented is tortured and killed. Keep going.
As it behooved them to come that are resolute to stand out against such things.
As it behooved him to come, them that are resolute to stand out against such things. I know this world seems like everyone's weak, everyone compromises, everyone would do anything for me. I know that. Right? You think money rules everything, don't you? You think if you're rich, you can get everything, and if as long as you have people will do what you say. You cannot understand the spirit of Christ in the UPK. General Hachaanakah does not care about money. It means absolutely nothing to him. He would have no need for it if he didn't pay your rents. that he would have no need for money at all. He wouldn't care about it at all. What he cares about is integrity. What he cares about is his honor. And that was this aged brother. He spit it out, and this is what behooved them. That what? Behooved means they thought it better. That's what the old word behoove means. It means you thought it was better to do this. Keep going.
God. As are not lawful for love of life to be tasted.
Read it one more time.
From top, sir?
From behoove.
God. As it behooved them that are resolute to stand out against such things, as are not lawful for love of life to be tasted.
Oh, I mean, that is just beautiful. And the word resolute is just a beautiful word. Like to be resolute, like that's how this school was built, brother. It was built from a brother being resolute, from just being absolutely determined to stand for something that no one else felt had any value, that no one else cared about, and to be willing to die for a people that everyone else thought were garbage. They were nothing. They were niggers and spicks and wetbacks, and who in the hell would ever care about them? And this school was willing to die for them. And we were resolute. And here we are. Keep going.
But they that had the charge of that wicked feast.
Of that what?
Of that wicked feast.
Of that what?
That wicked feast.
And this is what you have to, okay, some of you that have been in the truth for a while, you might hear about the Maccabees and when they were forced to eat pork. And you might visualize it like, everybody come eat pork today. That's not what it was like. This was Christmas. This was a feast. You understand? They were not celebrating the holiday. The holiday dictated you eating pork today. So when you visualize it today. Think about what you have to go through from not going over your mom's house for Christmas dinner. The suffering, the pain. You'll lose your children over this, huh? Do you understand? You're going to lose your kids because you won't go to Christmas dinner. They're going to take your children from you. They're going to literally take your children from you, and you'll wonder why, because it was Christmas and you didn't come. You didn't celebrate the feast. We're here eating pork today. Where were you? You're losing your kids. That was what happened 6,000 years ago. It is exactly what is happening to you today.
That's right.
Keep going.
For the old acquaintance they had with the man, taking him aside.
So the old acquaintance, remember, these men know him. They've decided to save their own lives, but they know this is a good brother here, man. But he's, a little stupid, a little stubborn, right? He's stubborn. He refuses to compromise. They were his old acquaintances. So they took him to the side before he went to be killed. Keep going.
Besought him to bring flesh of his own provision.
And they besought him. Listen carefully, and then you'll understand the spirit of Christ and the spirit of the Israelite school of UPK under commanding General Hachaanakah. These men went to him who loved him and knew him and said, listen, go get your own food, your own flesh. Get your food. What's your food? Chicken, beef, right? Deer. You go get your own food. Go ahead.
Oh, God. Such as was lawful for him to use.
Get the food that is lawful for you to eat. What's lawful for you to eat? Venison, deer, beef, goat, right? Go get your food that you know is lawful for you, brother. Keep going.
And make as if he did eat of the flesh taken from the sacrifice commanded by the king.
And act like you're eating the pork that the king demands that we eat. But really, you'll be eating beef. Really, it will be deer. Really, it will be pigeon. But you'll act like it's the meat that the king demanded that we eat, which was pig. These were his friends, and they wanted to save his life. And this sounds so good. And this sounds like, well, this is reasonable, man. Of course. Fake it. Just act like you're eating pork. Just make them think that you're eating pork. Make them think it, right? And live. But really, you're eating deer. You're eating beef. These men loved him, and they were trying to give him a kindness. Keep going.
God. That in so doing, he might be delivered from death.
He wanted to save his life, man. I understand. For some of you, your life means the world to you. I get it. Jeremiah.
Sounds like a deal that Israelite groups want to do.
Forget about it. Yeah, I mean, you give my Jeremiah a hand. That's a fact. Speaking of that, I did find that they wore purple here too. On a plane ride down, I found that they wore purple and gold. The people that compromise. Give me a second, I'll give it to you.
No.
All right. Yeah, some people they truly want to live forever. Like, that's their goal. But their goal in life is to just live forever, is to stack days on top of days, no matter how dishonorable they are. But there are some men that don't count their lives that valuable. I pray you understand. Keep going.
God with God. And for the old friendship with them find favor. It's like.
Take your time. Well, give him a break. Someone take it from him, please. The water warrior. Who has it? Keep going. The water for the scotch. Y'all can give yourselves a hand. He deserves it. Don't be shy about it. Please.
Book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 6, verse 23. But he began to consider discreetly.
So now after they made this, they laid out such a beautiful case to him. You go get your own clean meat that's lawful. You eat it, you fake it, and you act like it's pork. You'll get to live and not die. He begins to consider it discreetly. He thinks about it. He ponders over what the opportunity they just gave him to save his life, and he would not have broken the law. He would not have eaten pork. He would have eaten a clean, lawful meat. And so he's thinking about it.
And as became his age, and the excellency of his ancient years, and the honor of his gray head, whereon was come, in his most honest education from a child, or rather the holy.
Stop right there. That's what you need. As he's thinking about it, what's considering? Read that again, please.
And as become his age.
As he's thinking about his age, he's thinking that he is a senior. What does that mean? He's an elder. What does that mean?
He's old enough to die instead of just.
It's it'll be like you eating pork. It'll be like you compromise.
Explain.
It will be a stumbling block. Is the word I want to use.
A stumbling block for who?
It would make
for my children.
That's correct, sir.
Give him a hand. That's a fact. He's saying, wait a minute, man, I'm an elder. I'm an old man. Right? If I do this, what will the young men do?
That's right.
If they think I ate pork, what will they do? I have to think about my age. I have to think about my position, that I'm an elder among these people. Keep going.
And the excellency of his ancient years.
And I have to think about how I've lived all these years. I haven't lived these years eating pork, being a homosexual, being a thief and a murderer and a liar. I have to think about my reputation, the excellency of my years, how I've spent my years. I haven't been an old, dirty fool. I've spent these years building up a reputation. I have to think about that as you offer me to save my life if I fake like I committed a sin.
That's right.
Keep going.
Of his gray hair.
And the honor of these gray hairs. I wish I had some gray hairs. I got no hairs, but it's the same thing. Meaning what? Time, brother. Do you get my point? Time. Days I've given Commanding General Hachaanakah. Handed them to him, bowed on my knees, giving him my days, handing them over to him. Well, now what? After all of these days and all of this time and all of these gray hairs, what will I do now? Let everyone think that I ate pork? After all of these days upon this earth, all of these gray hairs, all this reputation I build up for all of this time. Keep going.
Whereon was come in his most honest education from a child.
And from a child, he was taught what? He was taught that there are things in life more important than your life. There are things more important than being alive. And that is what tonight is about. Tonight is about that. Tonight is about something that Christians do not understand. They talk about it. They sing about it. Tonight is about faith. Do you understand? This is about faith, Ak. Faith. The real thing. Sincerely faith. Something that you really believe in. And so many of you will never understand what it is to believe in something until you're tested, until you're found that you don't believe in it. That's what he was faced with this day. He is faced with, do you actually believe? You could save your life today and be free from sin. The young brothers will think I ate pork. The young brothers they might think they should eat pork because they think I ate pork. Man, I was taught from a child to never eat pork. I built up a reputation for years. What am I going to do now as I'm an old man now? Compromise now? Make them think I compromise? Nah, I'm one West. No, I can't do that. Understand? Keep going.
Or rather, the holy law made and given by God.
Keep going.
Therefore he answered accordingly, and willed them straight ways to send him to the grave.
That was a wise decision. That's in this time and at this moment the only proper and acceptable decision. And if you could make this decision, you could build a kingdom, brother, to conquer your oppressor. You could get off of drugs. You could defeat marijuana. You could defeat prostitution. If you could count something more valuable than your life, then what could you do with that kind of resolution? What could you do with that? Please.
You can become a Kentucky 8.
Give him a hand. That's what they did. That's what they did. Let's see what you do. Because we're all going to get our shot. Mm-hmm. Everyone gets their opportunity. That's right. To see if they believe. Right. And it's fun to talk about it and to say so many. I mean, you can imagine how many people I've heard throughout the years talk about how much they do and will never leave the truth. Right. I've heard that so many times. Over and over and over and over. And I always go, that's good, brother. That's good. That's great. I hear you. I understand. Keep reading. Reading on. Go ahead.
For it becometh not our age, he, in any wise to disassemble, whereby many young persons.
Does everyone know what disassemble means? Disassemble means to lie. That's the old English way to say a lie. It becomes not our age to lie. We too old to be lying. You understand that? We far too old to start lying about eating pork. We got too many gray hairs for that. Everybody understands that. Keep going.
Whereby many young persons might think that Eleazar, being 80 years old and 10, were now gone to a strange religion.
What's 80 and 10? That's plenty old right there. 90 years old. Listen, he's far too old to start lying. And he doesn't want any young brothers to think that now in 90, he decided to compromise. Keep going.
And so they, through mind hypocrisy and desire to live a little time and a moment longer, should be deceived by me.
Read it again.
And so they.
Who's the they? Who's the they?
The younger man?
The younger brothers. So they, the younger brothers, go ahead.
Through my hypocrisy.
Through his hypocrisy. What is hypocrisy? That's the fuel behind Christian hypocrisy. Looking like you're righteous when really you're not. There could not be Christianity without hypocrisy. Without hypocrisy, you would just see every Christian as a homosexual and a pedophile. Because that's what they are.
That's right.
But they don't look like it. They don't seem like that. And now, at 90, is he going to become a hypocrite now? When he's taught everyone that they should be willing to lay down their lives for the law, is now he going to save his life to look like he ate pork? Keep going.
And desire to live a little time.
Just for what purpose?
A little time.
Just to live a little longer. Just it. And that's all you need, don't you? Just to live a little longer. Right? And that's why snitches are so evil. Because Al Sharpton, who's another snitch, Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton committed so much crime, brother, in the 70s and 80s, and sent everyone to jail but himself. Everyone he was working with. Am I making this up, or can you just Google this and get YouTube clips of this? You can Google this and YouTube clip this of Al Sharpton setting up everyone he was committing crime with that fake church and laundering mafia drug money. And then put all of them in prison. He put everyone in jail, and he's on MSNBC. He's free. Malakwa. Come on.
I was about to say, when you said we brought the mafia money, there's an ex-mafia member, Michael something. I forgot his last name.
Franchese.
Come. He went on Vlad TV and talked about all the informants he dealt with, and he mentioned Al Sharpton as an informant.
Al Sharpton did anything he could to survive another day. Anything. And whatever he had to do to escape and to survive one more day, he did. But Eleazar is saying he's not that kind of brother.
That's right.
He's not someone that is willing to do that. Keep going.
And a moment longer should be deceived by me, and I get a stain to mine old age.
Now he gets stained. So now he's a liar, lies and says he ate pork when he didn't. And now his reputation in his elderly years is stained. Keep going.
And make it abominable.
And make it an abomination, which is something wicked and evil that God hates. Keep going.
2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 26. For though for the present time I should be delivered from the punishment of men.
Even though if I did what you're saying, yeah, I would get to live today. They wouldn't kill me today. Keep going.
Yet should I not escape the hand of the Almighty?
Yet I won't escape the hand of God. God will see what I did today. He'll see that I faked like I ate pork in public to save my life and to convince young people to do what I did, to eat pork and lie to them so they can eat pork. God will see it. And that is a concept that, once again, is hard to understand if you're not under Command and General Yana. That God sees the things that you only care about people seeing. He sees those things. The things that you think, as long as this is a secret and no one knows, it's fine. God is looking down from a fiery throne with angels in the room as you do them. And he sees it. And if your conscience could be towards what he sees, think of the kind of person he would see you become. He would see you become something amazing, because there is a witness to every act you commit. There is a witness in the room watching you, looking at it. What if you perform for him? What if you said, God is watching, so I can't let him see me do that? I can't let God see me tell that lie about eating that pork. I can't let God watch. Since he is watching, I have to perform because watching. So I need to impress him. That's one West. Keep going.
Alive, nor
keep going.
Wherefore now, manfully changing this life.
Wherefore what?
Now, manfully this life.
Wherefore what?
now manfully changing this life.
Here we go to the big thing everybody talks about, right? Being a man. That's a concept everybody thinks they know, they're experts on, especially women. And women think women are experts on how you should be a man. Won't you be a man and pay your bills? Won't you be a man? How you gonna be a man and not do this? Oh, bitch, you an expert on being a man. Expert on these dishes because they dirty. Women are experts on what men should do. And you know why? Because they don't have to do it. You get that, right? Because they don't have to do it. So they can be experts on that. Because they don't have to actually do it. Right? But being a man is this. And this day comes. Being a man would mean, which is what I have saved here in these notes, that you would have to count your life not important, or your wife, or your children. That's here in the Maccabees. That's here in the Hanukkah breakdown. That these men did not count their wives or their children more important than the law of God. That's where Hanukkah comes from. That's it. That's how you become a man. And you can't do it another way. Like just the sheer being a man, just to understand you're a man, is to understand that the world doesn't need a lot of you. Do you get my point? Whoever hunts, raise your hand if you ever hunted before. You hunted before, right? Gad, I can tell you hunted. You hunt with a knife, right? In your teeth. He looked like he hunts with a knife in his teeth. Give him a hand. He jumped out of a tree. Right? Okay, what are you able to kill in the woods without, you can always kill a male deer. Right? You can take a lot of male deers. Why? Because you don't need many of them, brother. The population will be fine with just a few. You get my point? Now, female deers, they're careful about how many female deers they can take in a deer season, because you cannot kill too many female deers and not wipe out the population. There will be no more deer if you take too many female deers. But male deers, you can leave a couple of them every season. That's all you need is a few. So if you realize that about being a man, you won't count your life to be so goddamn important. Like it matters so much. What really matters is how much do you impress the Lord that looks down on you from heaven? What will he see you do in your end? That's what Hanukkah is about. And these men that we celebrate tonight, they impressed the Lord our God, brother. That's right. And died. And they impressed him. And we won our temple back for their sakes. Keep going.
I would shew myself such an one as mine age required.
That's what he decided. He said, I'm going to show myself. Show myself to who? To God, who has an angel in the room listening to this conversation. I will show myself what? Malakwa?
One as mine age required.
I'm going to show my one as my age required. I'm going to be dignified in this moment. I'm going to have dignity today. I'm not going to lie and fake like this hamburger is pork so I can save my life and embarrass before the Lord our God. Today, I'm going to act my age. I'm going to be a dignified old man and die with my integrity. That's Hanukkah. Keep going.
And leave a notable example to such as be young to die willingly and courageously for the honorable and holy laws.
Read it again.
And leave a notable example to such as be young to die willingly and courageously for the honorable and holy laws.
This is Eleazar. What does his name mean again? He is he who God has helped. We remember Eleazar. Give Eleazar a hand today, brother. Thousands of years later, we remember Eleazar and what he did that day. Gracious and dignified in his old age. How he would rather die than lie and be a bad example to us who would come after him. Keep going.
And when he had said these words, Immediately he went to the torment.
Then he went over there immediately. He didn't slow walk it over there. He went over there to be tortured and killed. Keep going.
They that led him changing the good, will they bear him a little before into hatred? Because the foresaid speeches proceeded, as they thought from a desperate mind.
Read that again.
They that led him changing the good will, they bear him a little before into hatred.
Listen carefully. Hey, read that again.
They that led him changing the good.
Now remember, the brothers that led him, right? The beginning, what were they doing? They loved him and they were trying to get him to live by lying and faking like he ate pork. They loved him. But when he said, no, I will not be a poor example to these younger brothers. I will not in my old age compromise what I believe in and do something so undignified to my old age as lie and say I ate pork so that other men younger than me will do the same. Those same men who were trying to get him to compromise because they loved him, now they hated him. Those same brothers. Read it again, Houston.
They that led him changing the good, will they bear him a little more into hatred?
Well, so as they change, now they hate him. While they're bearing him a little while, as they take him to be killed, now they're angry with him. Keep going.
Because the foresaid speeches proceeded.
Because of the speech. Because of what he said, they hated him. Why did the speech make them hate him? Then you'll understand why everyone hates the UPK. Why your family calls us a cult and why we relish it and call ourselves cult leaders and cult princesses, which is why we're fine with it. The word cult, of course, is where the term culture comes from, right? Everyone understands that. And every officer in the UPK is a cult if you're worth anything.
That's right. That's right.
If you have any value.
That's right.
Please, Houston.
Because they tried to get him to compromise his standards so that they can be with him a little longer.
No, not so they can be with him a little longer. Why did his speech make them angry?
Because they were willing to compromise and he wasn't?
Because they were cut. That's an OUPK phrase, right? They were cut. They're like, listen, man, just fake like you're eating pork and you can live. We love you. You're a good man. I would never do something so undignified. You bastard. They're angry about it because it shines a light on their own lack of manliness, their own lack of manhood. And they see his manhood and get angry because you know what that means? That means that the bar for being a man has just gotten raised. And they realize they don't match it. And now they hate him. They hate him for setting such a standard because they refuse to keep it. And these same men who loved him and were trying to get, now they hate him. Keep going.
Because the foresaid speeches proceeded, as they thought, from a desperate mind. But when he was ready to die with stripes, he groaned and said, it is manifest unto the Lord who hath the holy knowledge, that whereas I might have been delivered from death, I now endure sore pains in body by being beaten. But in soul am well content to suffer these things, because I fear him. And thus this man died, leaving his death for an example of a noble courage, in a memorial of virtue, not only unto young men, but unto all his nation.
Give Eleazar a hand, man. That's how it's done, young man. That's how it's done, right? And these stories are here for us to meet this standard. This is about faith, and no one understands it. No one cares to understand it. But Eleazar had faith. The 7 brothers who were killed along with their mother, they had faith, man. They believed in something. Faith is not a song. Faith is not gospel music. That's not faith. Faith is not dancing. That's not what faith is. Faith is truly believing in something that is not here, that you cannot see it, and believing in something is believing in it enough to die. That's what actual faith is. And that's what Hanukkah is about. Someone else give me the story of Hanukkah now. Let's break it down.
You did ask for second Maccabees 6 and 4. Sorry.
Okay, hold on. Let me catch up with that. Any questions in the room or online? You said second Maccabees 6 and 4?
6 and 4. You asked about women or harlots in the temple. Sir.
Oh, yeah. Where is that at?
Second Maccabees 6 and 4.
That's exactly where it is, and that's what I want. Second Maccabees 6 and 4, 6 and 5, 6 and 6. All the way, go to 6 and 7, and then skip the 6 and 10. All right, read that. No questions online. Someone's looking at this online?
All right, sir.
Stewart, go ahead. See me one more time, please, out with the chase. Whoever had, I think it's your ball right here, this brother. You got it. For what? I appreciate it. Whoever has it, read it.
Maccabees, chapter 6, verse 4. For the temple was filled with riot and reveling.
Say that. What? Say that again.
For the temple was filled with riot and reveling.
The temple was filled with riot and reveling? Who knows what reveling is? A party. That's reveling. What's riot? Noise and commotion. Hallelujah! They do this one here. They just get this one right here. They like stuck. They stuck right here. Then they switch to the side. You telling me the temple was filled? It was a party in there. It was filled with rioting and reveling. Keep going.
By the Gentiles.
By the Gentiles. By the heathens. They went into our temple, brother, and danced. Danced. Now your auntie does it. And your grandma. Some of you probably was dancing in there too. Don't tell nobody. Don't tell Ariel, because he ain't gonna never let you. He ain't gonna never forgive you for that. He'll never look at you as a man of the Lord. So just hide that. If you was in there playing that organ, just never tell anybody in the school. All right, everybody understands that. What I'm trying to bring out is that this is the Christian church, and they were doing it in the Maccabees, and this is why the temple was profane and polluted, because they went in the temple of Solomon and had a party in there, ate pork in there and danced and rioted. Read it one more time.
Filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles.
Mm-hmm.
Who dallied with harlots.
Who did what?
Who dallied with harlots.
This is sounding very familiar now. So you telling me you got parties, revel. Someone look up reveling. All right, just look that up. Yeah, if you don't know, just look it up. You got the Googles and all that, right? Reveling and riots, and that when they get that Holy Ghost in there, that's a riot in there, Jack. That'll scare a child. They start with that Holy Ghost mess, brother. The dresses go over the head. They run up and down. You don't even understand that as a child. You don't know quite what in the hell is happening in there. LeBun.
Slocky, sir. Enjoying oneself in a lively and noisy way.
Now, see, here's the problem. That sounds like the church. That's what it sounds like. I mean, it sounds like they're enjoying themselves in a noisy and loud way. That sounds like every Sunday in Black and Hispanic church and Haitian church and Benjamite church USA. It sounds like that's what they're doing. It sounds like they're being Greeks, not the followers of Christ. It sounds like they're being Gentiles. Read it again, Shabbat.
For the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, who dallied with harlots.
Who all in the same place. They dallied That's an old word. Dally. That's a nasty word. Dally feel like this. It feel like you're doing this here. Dally. Someone look up dally. That's nasty hard.
I got a little more on Greco, sir.
Go ahead.
Get great pleasure from a situation or experience.
Ooh, hallelujah. It's shut up in my bones. Ooh, I get the joy. What's that term they use? Like, I get joy. I don't know what the hell it is.
Fire in my bones.
Yeah, fire in my bones and joy and so much joy. Come on.
Dally, the second definition is have a casual romantic or sexual liaison.
Casual. You know what I mean? It ain't marriage. It's no strings attached. Just dalliance. That's the Christian church, huh? Full of whores, having sex, dalliances with everybody in there. It's a whorehouse. Come on.
If I could, sir, would that be like an entanglement?
I damn near choked. Give him a hand. Yes. I damn near choked. That's an entanglement. A dalliance. Yes, sir. This is every church you've ever been in. All of the rumors, if you've been to church a year, you done heard all of the rumors about who's having sex with who and who's doing this and who's doing that. And the deacons having sex with these people and forget about that choir. That choir is Caligula on that choir. That choir is, so much homosexuality. And the phrase down low comes from church. That's a church term. Because they're acting like they're Christians, but they're closeted gay men who have sex with other Christians. That is a whorehouse, and it was done 6,000 years ago in the Temple of Solomon. Keep going.
And had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places.
Within the circuit of the, meaning on the campus, they were buying prostitutes. Is that crazy? That's happening in the church, man.
All right.
That's happening in the church. In your Christian churches, there is prostitution. The reverend is having sex at night on the altar. Do I got to bring up these news stories? Man, where these news stories? Generally, how used to give us tons of these. Where they bring the prostitute in the church and have sex with the whore on the damn Jesus altar in the church. General Yohana has tons of these stories he would bring out all the time, huh? There was one in Brooklyn where some cat pretended to be Marilyn Monroe. Listen, I ain't got all night. That's a dirty place y'all going to. That Christian church is a terrible, terrible place. Well, all I'm trying to tell you is that it ain't special. It was done 6,000 years ago, and they're continuing it today. Shabbat, any more?
And besides that,
it is more. Listen, the water. Give him a hand. Besides that ain't all.
And besides that, brought in things that were not lawful.
Besides that, they was eating shrimp in there, eating crab, with that crab filth where they all piling a ton of crabs on a table and just suck them dirty shells until they satiated with shell juice. And ham and pork and filth. Keep going.
Verse 5. The altar also was filled with profane things.
Keep going.
Which the law forbid.
Which the law forbid. Here, everybody understands that. Now we're getting back to that pork again. On how pork is just so central in the feasts of the other nations and the feasts that cause you to betray your God. And this is what made zealous men say, enough is enough. They saw pigs go in that temple, and them in that temple eating pigs. They said, we taking back the temple up.
All right.
There were certain men that couldn't stomach it no more. And that's how we have Hanukkah. All right? Now skip me down. Is that it? I think that's it, right?
Verse 6.
If you like it, go ahead.
Verse 6. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts.
That's something. Read that again.
Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient fasts.
Neither was it lawful for a man to keep the Sabbath day or ancient feasts. Let me ask you a question. How much trouble do you have to go through to celebrate the Sabbath? To go to the High Holy Night? To go to the Passover? To come here tonight? How much trouble do you have to get through and go through to celebrate Hanukkah? That's it. You're not asking to drink blood or to shoot people or to murder people. You're asking to do something that is ancient. And everybody knows about it. But it's unlawful for you to do it. You can't do this night. Right? This is another thing. I'm glad I remembered this from what the brother said. So many times brothers and sisters will call me and they'll try to explain to their job or a judge in court our belief system. They'll try to explain, well, listen, you know, when my child is with me, they don't celebrate Christmas, they don't eat pork, they don't eat shrimp. And it can become difficult for you to try to describe our lifestyle to people in the world. Salaki, bro, Thawada. It can become, you don't really know how to say it. You have to use a lot of words. Let me give you something easy that you can say to anyone. If anyone asks, well, what do your children do? Or what do you do with your wife or with your family? Say this. I raise my children kosher. My children are kosher. They're raised kosher. My wife is kosher. Oh, no, my house we're kosher. Now, why am I saying that? First of all, in Hebrew, kosher is kashar, which means clean. And that a judge in America that does not know what kosher is. If you say, well, Your Honor, when my son is with me, I raise him kosher, or my daughter is kosher.
That's right.
The judge is going to go, okay, why? Who knows why? Because they respect the Jewish person who doesn't eat pork, doesn't eat shrimp, and doesn't celebrate Christmas. Who doesn't do the exact thing that you don't do. But, read again.
Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient fasts.
But we're not allowed to do it. You see, if you're Jewish, you don't have to celebrate Christmas. No one calls you a cult member. They say you're kosher. If you're Jewish, they don't celebrate birthdays. Jewish, they don't eat pork. They don't eat shrimp. No one says they're in a cult. They say they're kosher. But you, as a black and Hispanic man, it's unlawful for you to do it. You're not allowed to do it. You can't celebrate the Passover. So this is what you do. If you're in court and you got a baby's mother that's just this filthy slut and is trying to shame and embarrass you and say you're in a cult, you say, Your Honor, I raise my children kosher. I'm kosher. Now, when Judge Weinberg hears you say that, she'll go, moving on. She'll know just what that means. So then, and that's one term, everybody knows it. Use it from now on when you're in that situation, right? Because really the problem is not that our lifestyle is strange. Our lifestyle is thousands of years old. And there are so many other races that do it all the time. But it's unlawful for you to do it. You can't do it. You try to just do the same thing. All you want to do is give up pork, just like the Hasidic Jews, just like every Jewish person who's religious doesn't eat pork. You try to do it, you're in a cult. You think Jewish people have a Christmas tree in their damn house? They don't. But you try to do it, you're in a cult. Listen, no problem. I'm a cult leader. I don't let Christmas trees come in my house. I'm kosher. My kids are kosher. My wife is kosher. Now tell Judge Weinberg that that's wrong. Tell the Judge Weinstein that it's a cult. You're in a cult because you don't celebrate Christmas. Everybody understands. Anything else?
A little bit more, sir.
Go ahead.
Or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
Here we go. Here we go. There are people that can say they're Jews. Judge Weinberg can say she's a Jew. She can do it. It is unlawful for you to say it. For it to come out of your mouth is a crime. It's a crime for you to say it. Well, no problem, because we are willing to die for what we believe.
That's right.
And so we'll say the thing that no one else is willing to say, that everyone is afraid to say, that the world thinks is unlawful to say. Blacks and Hispanics are the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. The black man in America is the biblical ethnic Jew that the Bible speaks of. And the Hispanics, the North American Indians, and the Seminole Indians are their blood brothers, the chosen people of God, the 12 tribes of Israel. Everybody understands that. Praise God. Where we at now? You get that? So that's the horror that was going on in Jerusalem. Now give me Hanukkah. Now start me with the story. Where do I want to go, Arkin? When they went down there and they took the whole damn place, it was a terrible thing. I mean, it was a good thing when they took it. Give me 2 Matthew 2 and 12, just to start here. Someone else hold that. And then I also want stand by. Give me when Mattathias was on his when they started their rebellion on that horse. When his reins shook.
You want to start the part where he tried to get him to be down with him? How the king was trying to coax him to come get down with him? And then I'll give you a few verses from there, and we good. No questions. Everybody on the shore. Everybody's solid on this. You understand the Bible in its entirety. No problem. Go ahead, please. First Maccabees 2 and verse 16. And when many of Israel came unto them, Mattathias also and his sons came together.
That's the name I was looking for earlier. Mattathias, man.
I saw that.
The water, Mattathias. Go ahead.
Then answered the king officers and said,
So now let me just skip you up. Mattathias was a cat of great renown, much like Eleazar. And they once again needed him to eat pork. So everyone could be what? Come on. Who was here in the class? So everyone could be what? One. And that is the filth that you have to get out of your head. The myth of unity. The myth of togetherness. What are you willing to compromise to be one with them? To be together? To be unified? What are you willing to give up? Do you understand that their unity is unity to fight God? Their unity is the unity of Babylon, who all came together under one tongue so they could fight the Lord our God. And the Lord confounded their languages so that they could never come together. This country, this oppressor, unifies not for peace, not for togetherness, but to form a big enough army to fight the Lord. And we can't come together with him in that. Keep going.
Verse 17. Then answered the king's officers and said to Mattathias on this wise, Thou art a ruler and an honorable and great man in this city, and strengthened with sons and brothers. Now therefore come
So
thou
where you
first.
at, House?
Second, sir?
Where you at?
First Maccabees. That was verse 7, second chapter, verse 17 and verse 18 now.
Go ahead.
First Maccabees 2 and 18. Now therefore come thou first and fulfill the king's commandment, like as all the heathen have done.
House, do me a favor. Go to First Maccabees 2 and 9.
Come.
Go to 2 and 9 to 10, and then skip to First Maccabees 2 and 19.
Come.
And then skip to First Maccabees 2 and 22. Stop me there. Go ahead.
First Maccabees 2 verse 9. Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity.
That's what happened when the Greeks came into our temple, and they forbid us to come into our temple and to make proper sacrifices. They turned our temple into a Christian church, and they danced and had sex with whores in our temple, and then carried away all of our glorious artifacts. One of them, chief among them, not chief among them, but one of them is our candlestick. This candlestick is a memorial of the menorah, right? Or the great candlestick that was in our temple. If you can look up on your phone, the Tiberius, that's a stone carving carried our actual candlestick out of the temple when they sacked Jerusalem in 70 AD. It was like as big as a table. Let's say it was about 5 feet tall, and they put it on like a table. And they carried it out. They carried out our trumpets and all of our gold out of that temple. And they melted it down, sold it, and then made the Colosseum in Rome. And in that Colosseum, what did we do in that Colosseum? Who knows? We had sport in that Colosseum. We fought lions and fought bears and killed each other so that they could think about what great athletes we were in this temple that was paid for by the stealing of our candlestick and all of our different gold artifacts. Keep going.
Her infants are slain in the streets.
Her what?
Infants are slain in the streets.
Her infants, 9-year-old boys shot dead by the cops because they have a toy gun. A toy. Your children are killed today in the streets. They were killed 6,000 years ago. Your children were killed 6,000 years ago. Keep going.
Her young men with the sword of the enemy.
You get that. I don't have to break that down, do I? Right? Your young men were killed with the sword of the enemy. They're slaughtered and killed. They were slaughtered and killed back then. They're slaughtered and killed today. Keep going.
What nation has not a part?
Take your turn.
What nation has not had a part in her kingdom and gotten her spoils?
What nation? What nation has not had benefited from our destruction? You name one. I mean, the East Indians are that's white people, and they're still benefactors from our destruction. The East Indian, the people from Pakistan and India, people from Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, they're still in your neighborhoods destroying you. Every nation on the planet has benefited from your destruction. Keep going.
Verse 19.
And forget about them Africans. Forget about all types of people that you be a child watching Africa on TV, feeling sorry for them because they got them big stomachs and flies all over their eyes. And then you grow up and they own all of the businesses in your neighborhood with the flies. Now they're here and own everything in your neighborhood. And you felt sorry for them, wishing you could find 50 cents a day to send to them. While they're here and they own all of the hair salons, all of the businesses in your neighborhood. Keep going.
Verse 19. Then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice. Though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him and fall away, everyone from the religion of their fathers, and give consent to his commandments, yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers.
Listen, man, that's what Mattathias said. That word religion, when you look that up, it's conscience, right? Conscience. That he was not going to compromise the conscience of his father. He wasn't going to, or the belief of his father. He wasn't going to do it. And this is what Hanukkah is about. Hanukkah is about faith. It was the true test of faith at that time. And the Most High wanted us to never forget it so that you could know what to do when your test comes. Keep going.
Verse 21. God forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances.
Mm-hmm.
We were not to the king's words to good religion, either on the right hand or the left.
What did the king want from them this day? Who knows? He wanted them to celebrate the feast. He wanted them to eat pork. That was it. They had to celebrate the feast and eat pork, and Mattathias forbid it. Keep going.
Verse 23. So I think you said for me to jump down to a certain point.
You had 23?
I'm at 23 right now. So I can say.
Read 46.
41, 246 or 41 and 46?
41 and 46.
Come on. First Maccabees 2 and 41. At that time, therefore they decreed, saying, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, We will fight against them.
That's a good one, but not that one. I'm sorry. Where you at again?
First Maccabees 2 and 41.
Go to 47.
Come.
So you said 41, go to 46.
46?
I'm sorry, for time's sake. They pursued them proud men. We don't need that either. Okay, First Maccabees 2 and 48.
Come. First Maccabees 2 verse 48. So they recovered the law out of the hand of the Gentiles.
So let me catch you up to what happened here. So Mattathias, he wasn't eating that pork. They tried to get him to eat pork. He killed the cat who told him to eat pork. He killed him. And then he went to war. And then he began a guerrilla war in Judea with just a few men, and then more men gathered under him, and he would just strike the Gentiles and the Greeks and just kill them when he could. And the verse that Hachaanakah was about to read, General Hachaanakah, was when there was a group of Jews that refused to fight on the Sabbath day because they did not understand the Sabbath day. And then when Judah heard about it, Mattathias, he said, if they attack us on the Sabbath day, we're going to kill all of them.
Damn right.
And then he fought on the Sabbath day. Why? Because he understood the Sabbath day. Right? And then that's what's happening. They're just in a war. And this war had so much politics. Then the Romans got involved. The Romans made league with them. Give me the purple one. Hold up.
That's I sent it to you in the text, sir.
You did.
Yeah, I think it's
10. It's right around here somewhere. The Romans get involved. The Maccabees try to make league with the Romans. The Romans try to make league with the Greeks. And it's a political mess. All the time we're just fighting, trying to take back more land in our homeland. Trying to take it back inch by inch. Finally, one day, we made it to the temple. Now, let's skip down to that house.
Come.
When we're at the temple, round about it, I think that might be in Second Maccabees.
Come on with
It's the usual one we always go to.
Okay, I'm going to it now. So 1 second, please.
Is it First Maccabees 4 and 38? It should be on the flyer.
I got it, sir.
First Maccabees 7 and 49. What do you have?
First Maccabees, the 4th chapter.
Okay, so there's a war. The war is going on. It's going crazy. Then finally we fought and we finally got to our temple. And the Greeks had our temple, and we fought to get them out of our temple. That's what I need, Haj. You got that?
I got it, sir.
Go ahead.
First Maccabees 4 and 41.
Mm-hmm.
Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress until he had cleansed the sanctuary.
Hold up, Haj. Give me 38. First Maccabees 4 and 38. Start.
First Maccabees 4 and 38. And when they saw the sanctuary desolate and the altar profaned and the gates burned up and shrubs growing in the courts as in a forest.
So they finally got to the temple after this war, and the temple looked like hell. Looked like no one cared for it. It was all burned up and disgraced. Keep going.
Or in one of the mountains. Yea, and the priest's chambers were pulled down.
The priest's chambers pulled down. The rooms where the priests would go in and live in their chambers. They lived there. Those things was pulled down. It was a disgrace the way they kept that place. Keep going.
They ripped their clothes.
When they saw this, they ripped their clothing. That's how much they loved this place. When they saw what happened to the temple, and this time where they had been away from it, and the Greeks had it, they ripped their clothing out. It made them that sad because they loved this place. And once again, that's something that's an old way to think, but that is how we think in the UPK. It is the spirit that's in here. They ripped their clothing when they saw the desolation of Solomon's temple. Keep going.
And made great lamentation.
And they were sad and they cried. That's what lamentation means. Keep going.
And cast ashes upon their heads.
They took ashes, like when you go and cook and get heat, and now there's ashes left, they throw them on their heads to be miserable and sad because of what happened to Solomon's temple. Now you think about that when you see your neighborhood, when you see the reservations, and when you see what's happened to our people. Think about how sad you should be. how sad you actually should be. You're not sad. Who knows why? Because you can smoke. That's why you're not sad, because you got pills. So you're not sad. You got pain pills and Xanax and Oxycontin. So you are happy when you should be in lamentation for what has happened to you and has happened to your people. Keep going.
Come. Verse 40. And fell down flat to the ground of places, and blew an alarm with the trumpets and cried toward heaven. The Jews appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress.
So now, if I could, so now he sees the temple, but it's still some oppressors on the grounds of the temple. So he finds men to go flush them out, to clean the whole place out of every oppressor and heathen that's still living in there or operating in there. Keep going.
Until he had cleansed the sanctuary. So he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law, who cleanse the sanctuary and bear out the defiled stones into an unclean place.
The defiled stones, remember, these stones were the stones that they would cook the meat on. They were big giant altars, and they would put fire under the altar and cook lamb and cook goat and cook bullocks of the first year for the priests and for the sacrifices. But during this evil time, there were pigs cooked on these stones, and they had to get rid of them. And they went and cast them out and threw them out in the wilderness. And they had to find new stones because pigs had been cooked on the previous stones. Keep going.
Verse 44. And when as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which is profane, they thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them, because the heathen had defiled it, whereas they had pulled it down.
How did they defile it? By putting Christmas dinner on that altar. By putting ham and ham hocks and all that filth on that altar. They said it's best we just get rid of it. Keep going.
Come. Verse 48. And laid up the stones in the mountains of the temple in a convenient place, until there should come a prophet to show them what should be done with them.
Why? Because these stones were old. These were Solomon stones. So they put them out the temple because pigs had been on them, but they put them somewhere until a prophet should come one day and tell them what they should do with these very old stones. Keep going.
Then they took whole stones according to the law and built a new altar according to the former, and made up the sanctuary and the things that were within the temple, and hollowed the courts. And they made also new holy vessels. And into the temple they brought the candlestick and the altar of burnt offerings and of incense.
So you understand. So they begin now. This temple was a wreck. It was terrible. They had been in there having sex with sluts and whores and prostituting, not keeping the place up. With where priests used to live, and their chambers were pulled down, and everything was emptied out. They went in that temple, brother, and they made it brand new. They cleaned it up. They brought in a new candlestick, new gold, new trumpets, new stones to make sacrifice on. This is where Hanukkah comes from. It's the day that we rededicated the temple. We had lost it for so many years. The heathens had it. Finally, through much pain and suffering, we got it back. And now we went to redecorate the place. Get rid of everything that had touched pig's flesh and that heathens had profaned. And we went and brought in new things, new golden instruments. And the candlestick was just the primary. It was so big. It was a big giant thing because, of course, this is how we got our light. Today, this symbol has become a religious symbol, the candlestick. But this was the light switch in the temple. This is how you read. You get my point? You couldn't read the scroll in the temple without this big, giant candlestick. And so it was prominent because there was no electricity. And this was the main source of light in the temple. and it was profane, and we went and got a new one. And we brung it back in, and we lit it up. And now, because it's lit up, we can read the law of Moses. Keep going.
Verse 50. And upon the altar they burnt incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlesticks they lighted, that they might give light in the temple.
That's what I just explained. Everybody understands. Keep going.
Furthermore, they set the loaves upon a table, and spread out the veils, and finished all the works which they had begun to make.
They went and they started to feed the people, feed the priests. They went and started over. Right? They got the place back and they started over again. Keep going.
Now in the 5 and 20th day of the 9th month, what is called the month Kaslu, and the 140 and 48 Saki, and the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning and offered sacrifices according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings which they had made.
So now they did this for 8 days. They did it for 8 days because that is the amount of days that Solomon did it when Solomon first dedicated the temple. I think I gave you that earlier when I said that Solomon did it. Right? Read that.
This is the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 2, verse 12. So Solomon kept those 8 days.
Solomon kept those 8 days. Solomon is the one that dedicated the temple in the beginning. And when he had it, he had a party for 8 days. When he first dedicated those original stones and that original candlestick, he had a party for 8 days. Everybody came in, they decorated the place, the candle stayed lit, and they had a damn good time. Well, when they rededicated the temple, they did the 8 days again, which is where the 8 days came from. And I believe it's in Chronicles, when Solomon dedicated the temple for 8 days. It'll say 7 days plus 1. All right? Keep going, Haas.
First Maccabees 4 and 53. And offered sacrifices according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings, which they had made. Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it, even and that was it dedicated with songs and cisterns and harps and cymbals. Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising the power of heaven.
Give him a hand, Barakatah Yahweh. Let me give you a few precepts. That's Hanukkah. That's why we do it. That's why we do it every year. Because these stories and these brothers and sisters out there went through such painful experiences, did it because they believed in the Lord, man. And their belief gave fruit this day. Let me give you some of the speeches. So now, Judah, I'm sorry, Haas. Please, go ahead, Haas.
Worshiping the power of heaven, who had given them great success. And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days and offered burnt offerings with gladness and sacrificed the sacrifice of deliverance and praise. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold and with shields, and the gates and the chambers they renewed, and hanged doors upon them. Thus there was a great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away.
Everybody understands that. Give him a hand. And that's, if you ever wonder, that's where our whole culture comes from, with shields and swords and crowns. And that's us remembering the temple, remembering what these brothers did on that day. Let me also give you a speech that Judas gave. Remember, I told you, when you read this story out, first of all, when you read First Maccabees and Second Maccabees, First Maccabees and Second Maccabees are the same story. The difference is First Maccabees is giving the line of what happened, like the chronological line of all of the events. Second Maccabees is not giving the entire line. It's skipping around and giving important parts in the story. First Maccabees will just give you the entire thing. Second Maccabees will give you the important, what they determine to be the pivotal parts of the story of the Maccabees. Everybody understands, right? So now Judas is fighting this war, and this is a long war. All of those brothers that got killed, what's his name again? Not Tiberius. Matthias died. Let me skip you down.
You want third chapter, General?
Let me see.
You went to the close.
I know I want the story about Moses and faith in the Maccabees.
Okay, 1 second.
Any questions, Akim or Kwathian? Oh man, how did I forget this one?
I know, sir.
You got that? Hang on to that and give me First Maccabees 3.
That's the one where he was going to the coast.
Yeah, this one is just, you can't never forget. There's so much in this book. Okay, give me First Maccabees 3 and 20 to 21.
3, 20, 21.
Okay, this is just one. Remember, there's so many wars, so much pain, so much suffering they went through. And this is one of the many wars they had to fight when they were outnumbered, and there was 100,000 Greeks coming up against 4,000 Israelites. Keep going.
First Maccabees, the 3rd chapter, verse 20. They come against us in much pride and iniquity to destroy us and our wives and children and to spoil us. But we fight for our lives and our law.
That's it, brother. They come up against us with much pride. And here we are today, still fighting for our lives. And this scripture is important to make you understand the stakes of this battle. Like you gotta realize what is at stake. They're trying to kill you, your children, and your wives. That's the point. The point is to wipe you out as a people. Again, Haas?
Verse 20. First Maccabees 3 and 20. They come against us in much pride and iniquity to destroy us and our wives and children and to spoil us. But we fight for our lives and our laws.
But we're fighting for us and our laws. That's what's at stake here, man. Like they are so proud. They're so absolutely proud, and they seek to kill all of us, our children and our wives. And we're fighting for the law of God, man.
Right.
Keep going.
Keep moving down for this, so you want to go to the one we talk about Moses, Mattathias said.
Give me 2 Maccabees 15 and 27, then give me that one.
2 Maccabees 15 and 27?
2 Maccabees 15 and 27. This is a very One West precept. Then I'll take the one about Moses and then go straight there to Hebrews, and then we're done. Hebrews 11.
2 Maccabees, the 15th chapter, verse 27. So that fighting with their hands and praying unto the power with their hearts, they slew no less than 30 and 5,000 men.
Read that again.
So that fighting with their hands and praying unto the power with their hearts.
That is the UPK.
Right.
That's us, man. And it's something that Christians will never understand because, of course, Christians are doing what? You know, their whole belief system is done in their head or in their heart. Right? Their entire belief system is emotions. That's the whole thing. How you feel so strong, you cry, dance, and urinate on yourself in church. And that's the entire belief system. But in the UPK, we worship the Most High in our hearts, and we fight with our hands.
That's right.
That's what we're going to do.
Right.
And that is the only way you can take the kingdom. That's the only way you could ever take back the temple. You're going to have to serve the Lord up here, keep his commandments, keep his laws, and with your hands, you're going to have to fight.
That's right.
I pray you understand.
Right.
Keep going, How's anymore?
For through the appearance of the Most High, they were greatly cheered.
Read that again, that last part.
For through the appearance of the Most High, they were greatly cheered.
Damn right. Meaning, when the Lord finally showed that he was with us, oh, then we're happy, brother. But here's the thing. You don't get it without fighting for it.
Right.
And that is a difficult concept to understand. This is not something you just pray for, and just let Jesus do it.
Right.
That's not how this works, Up.
Right.
You're going to have to worship the Most High in your heart and fight with your hands. Anything else, Haas?
Yes,
Give me the other one I asked for. But
First Maccabees, the 2nd chapter, verse 51.
First Maccabees 1 and
chapter.
Second Maccabees.
No, first Maccabees, sir. The second chapter, verse 51.
Okay, let me just catch up. First
Come
Maccabees.
on, come.
Okay, first fit. I got you. Go ahead. This is the perfect. Exactly.
Come on, come.
Go ahead. Let's start at 50.
Start at 50, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, come. First Maccabees 2 and 50. Now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers.
That's what Judah Maccabee told his men, man. Be zealous for the law and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers. And that's what Commander General Hachaanakah demands out of all of us today. That's the only way you can be in the UPK. Listen, if you're looking for a fellowship group, there's a ton of them out there. You can go find a ton of people to fellowship with, have Shabbat with. You can find all kinds of people to have your Shabbat, and tons of you out there. I had to cut some woman that was thinking that we're the same. This is what you don't ever want to do in here. Don't ever think that the UPK is in unity with Hebrews on the internet.
Right.
We are not.
Damn right.
We're not. And any semblance of that is going to get you kicked out of the school.
Right.
I'm telling you, out of love, you're going to get out of here. If you have a need to be in a community of Israelites, some of you got that. It's like a need you got. Like you can't just be One West in the UPK. You need to be, a Hebrew with all of the the Hebrew women. And we're all the same. That you can't unify us with anyone.
Right. That's right. That's right.
You're not listening if you think you can.
Right.
And we won't unify with any fake Israelite group.
That's right.
Fake Israelites are Christians, Muslims, they're the same.
Right.
Right.
They're all brothers and sisters because they're brothers and sisters by blood. But we don't have any affinity or allegiance with them in any way. And if I find out that you do, I'm going to make sure you're with them all the time.
That's right.
That's right.
Please, Hollis.
Oh, God. That's right. First Maccabees 2 and 51. Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time. So shall ye receive great honor in an ending age.
Listen, this war that Judah fought, how did he get the people to fight it? How did he get men to step up and risk their lives and their children and to fight for this battle? He made them remember other men who fought. That's faith. That's why all these stories are in this book. What in the hell is the reason for us having all these records? Why do we have them? We have them so you can read them when you are scared. When you're scared. When you think you should save your life. And then you'll go, wait a minute, man. What about Abraham?
Right.
What about Moses? What about these brothers? What about the Maccabees?
Right.
What about the term Maccabee? That's not their name, Maccabee means hammer. But this cat was so hardcore. Over the generations, they just began to call him Judah the Hammer. You understand? That's what you should want, young man.
Right.
You should want some of that. You should want years later, you just become the sword, the hammer. And they don't know what the hell your name is, but your reputation was so rich that other men read about you and gain courage from what you did.
That's right.
And that's why we have the Bible, for faith, because this day, our day is coming.
Right.
Keep going.
Verse 52. Was not Abraham found faithful in temptation, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness?
How was Abraham found faithful into temptation?
When he was ordered to
When he was ordered to kill his son, to take his son and sacrifice his son, he went to do it, and the Lord said, "Stop right there. Kill this lamb." He was tested. You will be too. He was tested. He went and pulled the knife out to kill his son as he was ordered. He heard it, bah, bah, and there was a lamb. And the Lord said, "Kill the lamb. You passed your test." And it was counted unto him. The Lord called Abraham his friend because there was nothing more important than the Most High to Abraham.
That's right.
Clearly, we can see that.
Right.
Right? That's evident. Keep going.
Joseph in the time of his distress.
What happened with Joseph? Joseph went into prison when his brothers sold him into slavery. His brothers sold him into slavery, and he was in prison as a slave in Egypt and worked his way up from the bottom to become viceroy of Egypt, to be there to take his brothers in Egypt and to give them love when they gave him hatred. Joseph did that, brother. He believed. He believed he was the father of the tribe of Ephraim,
Right.
so-called Puerto Ricans. Keep going.
Kept the commandment and was made Lord of Egypt.
There you go. Keep going.
Phineas, our father, and being zealous and fervent, attained the covenant of an everlasting priesthood.
Who is Phineas? I believe that's the brother with the javelin, isn't it? That's the cat where Moses was telling us, brother, we have got to stop sleeping with women outside of our race. And this brother heard Moses say it after speaking. And someone said, there's a man right now in his tent having sex with a Chinese woman, or who the Bible calls a Moabite. The brother left Moses' speaking, ran into that tent, took a spear and put it through the man's back and the woman's stomach. Moses heard about it and congratulated him for his zeal.
Right.
That's what happened. And he's remembered right now in the Bible.
Right.
Keep going.
Verse 55. Jesus, for fulfilling the word, was made a judge in Israel. Caleb.
This is not the Jesus Christ, but this is another Jesus who was a famous judge in Israel.
Right.
Keep going.
Caleb, for bearing witness before the congregation, receiving the heritage of the land.
Caleb, brother from the tribe of Judah, who led Israel into the promised land. Keep going.
David, for being merciful, possessed the throne of an everlasting kingdom.
How was David merciful? Who knows? How was David merciful? I'll explain. David was hated of King Saul. King Saul was king over Israel, man. And King Saul wanted to kill King David. And King Saul was tracking David, hunting David. David was starving so much that he went to the temple. And the Levites, the Haitians, gave him showbread to eat because he was starving. And they gave him Goliath's sword, which they were holding as like a museum piece. He didn't have a weapon, and he had no food. And they gave him Goliath's sword, which he took from Goliath, and they gave him showbread. King Saul heard about it. He came to the temple. He questioned them. They said, listen, we don't know what you're talking about. We've seen David. We don't know David. King Saul said, kill these priests. They're lying. And it was 9 priests. And none of the Israelite guards would kill them because they were the Lord's priests. But there was an Edomite named Doeg who worked for King Saul. And he murdered those 9 priests for helping David. David was on the run to that extent. One day, finally, David came to meet King Saul. And he got word to King Saul, and they met under a tree. And King Saul said, I'm chasing you because I hear that you want to be king and that you're seeking to kill me. David said, that's not true, my lord. For last night, you were asleep in a cave, and I crept into that cave, and I tore a piece of your skirt. I could have taken your life. Here's a piece of your garment. I did not kill you, nor would I ever harm the Lord's anointed.
Right. That's right.
And King Saul said, damn. King Saul said, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. I should have never been doing this. And he left until the demon came back. David was merciful. He did not kill the man who was trying to kill him. He didn't kill him. And because of it, he became the progenitor to Yahushua Christ.
Right.
Keep going.
Verse 58. Elias, for being zealous and fervent for the law, was taken up into heaven.
Oh, Elijah got taken up into a chariot, brother. He got beamed up into a chariot because he was that sick about the Most High. Keep going.
And not Ananias, Azarias, and Misael, by believing, was saved out of the flame. Daniel.
That's those cats that went to that furnace.
Right.
You know about them. You know about Daniel went to that goddamn lion's den. Is that the one?
Yes, sir.
Daniel went to that lion's den, went in a furnace. That'll blow your damn mind. They thrown in a furnace and they don't burn. Why? They believed. They believed. Daniel was thrown in a lion's den, did not die. He believed. Keep going.
Daniel, for his innocency, was delivered from the mouth of lions. And thus consider ye throughout in all ages, that none that put their trust in him shall be overcome.
That's the point, Ak. That's Hanukkah. That's the point. That's why we remember this, because we were up against insurmountable odds. There is no way we should have won that war. It's impossible. We were weak who were made strong that day. That's another precept in the Maccabees. We were weak. There was no way. We were farmers who defeated the Roman Empire to take our land back. It was a miracle. And it happened. Now, what can we do next? What can we do if we believe? This one, Haas.
Come on.
Hebrews 11 and 13, 14, 24, 26.
Hebrews 11 and 13?
Yes, please.
Hebrews 11 verse 13. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off.
Let me tell you, when you go read of Hebrews, right? Read about a lot of great brothers and sisters of them. And they all died and got nothing for their faith. Nothing. Just like that brother, what's his name? Eleazar, like Peter, like all of the 12, like James and John, like John sitting in that prison in the island of Patmos. We're not reading about victorious people. We're reading about men who lost. And in that loss were greater than anything you could possibly imagine. Now you think about that when your faith is broken by losing your stupid job. You lose your job, you leaving the truth. You just can't handle that. Wow, why is all this bad stuff happening to me? I thought when I found God and came into the truth, that bad things were going to stop happening to me. Now look at it. Ever since I came into the truth, every bad thing is happening to me. Well, nigga, don't be in the truth.
Right.
What you in here for then? Bad things happening to you. Go in the world where nothing but good things happen.
Right.
Right? Go there. Go back in the world where only good things happen to you. Reading on.
But having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth.
Oh, you know what I missed? I need the one about the country. I need the one. I missed one. Hold on. I missed one in Maccabees where it says they seek a country. Someone else grabbed that. You keep going, and that's that.
Come
right?
on.
Meaning these, even though they didn't get the thing that they sought, they saw it afar off. They realized that if they didn't get it, their nation would. And they fought and died for it.
The word country,
please.
Is the next verse in Hebrews.
I appreciate it.
Come on. Hebrews 11, verse 14. For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country.
Read that again.
For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country.
Read it again.
For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country.
And brothers and sisters, that's what we're doing now. Like we're here right now, in this place right now, Las Vegas, give yourselves a Las Vegas. We're here right now tonight, declaring plainly that we seek a country.
That's right.
We want a land of our own, which is why we will find any corner or crack anywhere to start our own country.
That's right.
To begin. And we want the Lord to see it. We want him who is in this room, whose angels are guarding this room, who walk back and forth right now. We want them to look at us and say, we should give them the place of their own.
That's right.
We should give them a country of their own to declare it. We want him to see that we want a country. Keep going.
Come. Verse 15. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from which they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned.
I mean, listen, I don't know what I can do for you. I mean, I done laid it down so flat. It's like I stomped on it. All right. If we would have realized the country that we lost, we would have never lost it. Right? If we would have known what we had, we would have never given it up.
Yeah, right.
Now we're trying to get it back. Celebrating this night is us trying to get it back.
That's right.
We want the temple back. We want our land back.
Right.
We want our country back. Who's the guard? Shabayala? Shabayala. With that, pass the class over to the priest officer.
Walk on ya. Stand. Barak. Yahweh Hashem Yahushua Barakatah.
ISUPK security announcements. Where the ISUPK started at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Room for new brother and sister. When a new brother and sister comes into the school, they are